The sun rose over the quiet village, its rays filtering through the thin curtains of Amina's modest home. The village was a place where life moved at a slow, deliberate pace. The streets were lined with simple homes, and every morning began with the sounds of chickens clucking, children playing, and women preparing meals. Amina sat at the edge of her bed, looking out at the distant hills. Her hands rested in her lap, fingers tracing the embroidery on her plain dress. She was young, beautiful, and full of dreams that stretched beyond the limits of the village she called home. Despite her modest life, Amina's heart was filled with hope. She longed for a life where she could break free from the constraints of tradition and hardship. Her mother entered the room quietly, setting down a wooden bowl of water for Amina to wash her face. "Your stepmother wants to see you," her mother said softly, her voice filled with a hint of worry. Amina nodded and rose to her feet. As she stepped outside, she felt the familiar weight of the village's expectations bearing down on her. The women of the village whispered behind her back, their eyes filled with judgment. Amina's beauty and ambition were seen as threats. Her desire for more than the simple life they led was unsettling. When Amina arrived at her stepmother's house, the atmosphere was tense. The room was dimly lit. The only sound was the crackling of the fire. Her stepmother, a stern woman with a sharp gaze, motioned for her to sit. "I've found someone for you," her stepmother said, her voice cold and matter-of-fact. "Zaid, a hard-working man from a good family. He may not have much, but he will provide for you." Amina's heart sank. She had heard of Zaid, a kind man, but poor. His family lived in a small house on the outskirts of the village, struggling to make ends meet. Amina had always imagined a different future for herself, a future where love wasn't measured by social standing or wealth. "I love him," Amina said softly, her voice trembling. "But his family has nothing." "That's the way it is," her stepmother replied firmly. "Marriage is about more than love. It's about survival." Days passed in a blur. Amina found herself torn between her love for Zaid and the burden of her family's expectations. She spent sleepless nights wondering if she was making a mistake, if her dreams of a different life were destined to fade away. But Zaid's eyes were always full of warmth. His gentle smile and quiet determination spoke louder than any words. Despite the hardships they faced, Zaid's love for Amina was unwavering. He worked tirelessly, taking whatever job came his way, in hopes of building a better future for them. Amina began to see the strength in simplicity. She spent her days weaving baskets, tending to the village crops, and cooking meals with love. Slowly, she started to carve a space for herself in a world that tried to confine her. One evening, after a long day of labor, Amina sat by the fire with Zaid. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows on their faces. He took her hand in his fingers calloused but gentle. "Do you believe we can change our fate?" Zaid asked, his voice hopeful. "Yes," Amina replied firmly. "Because love is more powerful than the hardships we face." Their journey was just beginning, a journey filled with love, resilience, and the dream of a future where their hearts guided them more than the world around them. Zaid's hands were rough, calloused from years of labor. He woke before dawn, his silhouette a constant figure against the dim morning light as he prepared for yet another day of work. His family depended on him, his parents, younger siblings, all looking to him to bring home what little they could earn. Despite his determination, there were times when Zaid's smile faltered, when the weight of responsibility felt unbearable. Amina watched him from the doorway, her heart heavy with concern. She had grown used to seeing him return with dust on his clothes and exhaustion in his eyes. Yet through it all, Zaid's love for her never wavered. He provided for them in every way he could, even if the monetary means were meager. "You don't have to do this alone," Amina whispered one evening as they sat beneath the dim light of a lantern. Her hands moved over the simple meal they shared: rice, lentils, and vegetables, the only meal they could afford. "I don't mind," Zaid said quietly, a faint smile lighting up his tired face. "Your support is enough. You're my strength." But the harsh whispers of the village didn't make it easy. Amina's stepmother and the women of the community continued to criticize her decision to marry into poverty. They said she had sold herself short, that she deserved better. Someone with more wealth, someone who could offer a life of comfort and status. "You're just a servant now," one woman spat at her during a market visit. "You'll always be tied to this struggle." Amina swallowed her pride, ignoring the judgmental glares and condescending remarks. Inside, though, the criticism stung deeply. She couldn't help but feel the weight of disappointment from those around her, especially her stepmother. Every word felt like a small crack in her resolve, a reminder that the life she had chosen wasn't what others deemed worthy. At home, tensions were no less strained. Zaid's mother, Natia, disapproved of Amina's ambitions. She believed that a woman's place was in the home, supporting her husband, not dreaming of grandeur or independence. Her gaze was cold whenever Amina voiced ideas or offered suggestions to improve their humble existence. "Your place is here," Natia would say with a sharp edge in her voice. "Focus on what matters, caring for my son and the family." Amina felt trapped between her love for Zaid and her desire to make a difference. She wanted to lift his family out of poverty, to build a future where education and opportunities were accessible. But Natia viewed her ambitions as a threat to tradition. Every conversation with her mother-in-law left Amina questioning her place, her role in a family where silence and submission were the expected norms. The nights were the hardest. Amina lay awake, staring at the ceiling as her mind raced with doubt and ideas. Could she truly make a difference? Or was she destined to be another woman lost to the cycle of poverty? Her heart longed for change, but her spirit was battered by the weight of expectations. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Zaid returned home with news of another failed attempt at work. His shoulders drooped, and his smile was absent as he sat beside Amina. "Well, get through this," Amina said softly, squeezing his hand. "No matter how long it takes. You're the only reason I keep going," Zaid whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Your belief gives me strength." Still, the struggles were unrelenting. Every small victory felt overshadowed by the barriers they faced: financial strain, family expectations, and societal judgment. Yet through it all, Amina's resolve never wavered. She knew that true strength wasn't measured in wealth, but in the love and determination they held together. Amina worked tirelessly every day. She rose before dawn to gather water, tend to the small kitchen garden, and prepare meals. Her hands were calloused, her body weary from constant labor, but her spirit remained unbroken. Despite the harsh judgments of the community and her struggles with family tensions, Amina's determination burned bright. One morning, while washing clothes by the riverbank, an elderly woman approached her. The woman had a kind face, lined with wisdom, and a gentle smile that instantly put Amina at ease. "You have a good heart," the woman said softly, her voice carrying a calming tone. "Your hard work will not go unnoticed." Amina paused, her hands submerged in the cool water. She looked up at the woman, curious. "Sometimes fate rewards those who remain steadfast," the woman added before walking away. Her words lingered in Amina's mind. Slowly, Amina began to see small changes. Her neighbors no longer greeted her with disdain. Instead, they offered small gestures of kindness. A helping hand here, a kind word there. Even her stepmother seemed to soften slightly, no longer openly scolding her at every turn. But the most surprising transformation came from within. Amina started taking on small side projects, embroidering clothing for women in the village, helping with simple accounting tasks for a local merchant. Her skills, honed through necessity, began to shine. She was not just a woman bound by poverty, but someone who brought value to the community. One day, while delivering a basket of vegetables to a neighboring household, Amina met a wealthy merchant who had recently relocated to the village. The merchant was impressed by her work ethic and the creative way she organized household supplies for efficiency. "I've heard about you," he said. "Your dedication is admirable. How would you feel about managing my accounts? You seem trustworthy." Amina's eyes widened in surprise. Managing the finances for a wealthy merchant was beyond anything she had ever imagined. She hesitated, but then her confidence surged. This was her opportunity to prove her worth, to show that her ambition wasn't a threat, but a means of growth. "I'd be honored," she replied earnestly. With this new role, Amina began to earn a steady income. Her contributions no longer seemed insignificant. She supported Zaid not just emotionally, but financially, helping him navigate the challenges of their growing business ventures. Slowly, Zaid found success through unconventional means, starting a small trade of goods to neighboring villages and eventually building connections that expanded his reach. As Zaid's confidence grew, so did Amina's. She wasn't merely a wife by societal standards. She was his partner, his equal. She became the pillar that held their dreams together, making decisions and offering insight at every step. Her influence extended beyond their household, affecting the way others viewed them, no longer as the poor family at the edge of the village, but as individuals with strength and purpose. Even Natsia began to acknowledge her intelligence. The sharp glances softened, and eventually she began asking Amina for advice on household matters. The relationship between Amina and her mother-in-law shifted from conflict to understanding. "My son is lucky to have you," Natsia said one evening, after Amina helped manage the family finances during a crisis. Amina smiled, feeling a sense of pride. She knew she had earned their respect, not through wealth, but through determination, kindness, and strength. The community too started to shift. Where once there was judgment, there was now admiration. Amina's journey became a source of inspiration. Women sought her guidance, young girls looked up to her, and even the most skeptical villagers began to speak of her with respect. "You've built a legacy," one elderly woman said with a knowing smile. "A legacy that will endure long after the wealth has faded." Amina's heart swelled. She knew that true success wasn't measured in material wealth alone. Her story, their story, was one of resilience, a testament to the power of love, perseverance, and the belief that fate rewards those who strive to break free from their circumstances. Zaid's business had grown beyond their wildest dreams. His efforts, combined with Amina's unwavering support, had transformed their small venture into a thriving enterprise. They had moved into a larger home on the outskirts of the village, a house with more rooms, finer furnishings, and a sense of sophistication that once seemed unimaginable. Yet, with success came its own set of challenges. Jealousy simmered within the community, old friends turned distant, and new business rivals sought to undermine Zaid at every turn. There were whispers, rumors of deceit, exaggerated tales of betrayal, and subtle attempts to discredit them. One evening, after attending a lavish gathering hosted by wealthy merchants, Zaid and Amina sat quietly at home. The once simple life they shared felt increasingly distant. Amina gazed at the ornate silverware on the dining table, the silk curtains swaying gently in the breeze. Her heart felt heavy with doubt. "We've come so far," Zaid said, his voice reflective. "But at what cost?" Amina didn't answer immediately. Her mind raced through the complexities of their new life. The warmth of their humble beginnings seemed like a distant memory, replaced by opulence and social expectations. She wondered if they had lost the simplicity that once defined them. "I don't know," she admitted softly. "It feels as though we've built something beautiful, but fragile." The balance between who we are and who we've become is slipping. Zaid took her hand in his, offering a comforting squeeze. We're still us, Amina. No amount of wealth will change what we share. But Amina couldn't shake the feeling. Every extravagant event they attended, every new opportunity that came their way, felt like a step further from the values they once held dear. The bond they had nurtured through hardship began to strain under the weight of luxury and expectation. The final test came at a family gathering, where old rivalries resurfaced. Nazia sat stiffly in the corner, her face a mask of quiet disapproval. Her once subtle criticisms had turned into open disdain. Zaid's success had stirred something deeper, an unsettling fear of losing her place within the family. "You've changed, Amina," Nazia said bluntly, her voice cutting through the air. "You've become something different, someone who no longer belongs to us." Tears pricked Amina's eyes. "Is that all I am to you? Someone who no longer fits?" "We worked hard to build this," Zaid intervened, his voice firm. "None of this would have been possible without Amina's strength. She is my equal, my partner." The room fell into an uneasy silence. The weight of emotions hung thick in the air. Amina's heart ached, not just for herself, but for what was slipping away. The woman who once dreamed of a better life now faced the difficult choice of preserving her marriage or clinging to the values that defined her. Late that night, Amina sat by the window, the moonlight casting a soft glow on her face. Zaid joined her, his presence steady and reassuring. "We've built something incredible," he said softly. "But we've forgotten what truly matters." Amina nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Perhaps we need to let go of the excess and return to what grounded us." Together, they made a decision. They would simplify their lives, downsizing their home, focusing on what truly mattered, and rebuilding the foundation of their relationship. The pursuit of wealth wasn't wrong, but it couldn't be the only measure of their success. The next morning, they gathered their family for a reunion. Amina, Zaid, Nazia, and their children. It was a humble gathering compared to the grand celebrations they once attended, but the atmosphere was rich with love and understanding. "I'm sorry," Nazia said quietly, tears glistening in her eyes. "I only wanted what was best for you both. I see now that I was afraid of losing you." Amina embraced her mother-in-law, their differences melting into shared understanding. Zaid's siblings offered warmth and forgiveness, and the family felt whole again. Their love was tested, but it endured, stronger than the lure of power and wealth. "We'll build something lasting," Amina said, with renewed determination, "something that won't be lost when times become difficult." Together, they understood that true success wasn't defined by material wealth alone. It was found in the depth of relationships, in the strength to face challenges hand in hand, and in the belief that love and values would always guide them home. The sun set gently over the village, casting a warm golden glow over the landscape. Zaid and Amina sat side by side on their simple porch, the hum of crickets filling the quiet evening air. Their home, now modest once again, reflected the values they had worked hard to preserve. A life grounded in love, purpose, and the joy of shared struggles. "I never thought we'd return to this," Zaid said, his voice steady yet filled with gratitude. "Simple moments like these mean more to me than any grand feast or business deal." Amina smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. "It's not the riches we once dreamed of, but it's enough. It's everything." Through the journey they had undertaken, from poverty to prosperity and back again, the couple had come full circle. They had faced the pitfalls of wealth and the pressures of societal expectations. Yet through every challenge, their bond grew stronger. Their love had become their greatest asset, a force more enduring than any material success. "I never lost sight of who we are," Zaid continued. "Even when things got overwhelming, I always knew we had something deeper. Amina squeezed his hand, her eyes reflecting a newfound peace. Fate brought us together, and it guided us back to what matters most, our love. Their story was not just one of triumph, but of resilience, a testament to the power of perseverance against all odds. Amina often reflected on how far they had come, from the days when their family had little more than hope to sustain them. She thought of the lessons they had learned, the humility, the strength to stand tall in the face of adversity, and the wisdom that came from accepting both hardship and success. Each step forward had been a testament to their shared destiny. A journey shaped not by the wealth they amassed, but by their ability to weather storms together. Amina saw her story mirrored in the generations before her. Women and men who, through hardship, had carved paths to brighter futures. Their resilience spoke to the timeless truth that even from humble beginnings, greatness could be achieved through love, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. I think, Zaid said thoughtfully, our story is one of many. There are others who face the same struggles, others who wonder if their dreams are possible. Amina nodded. And maybe, in sharing our journey, we can inspire others to believe that no matter how small the beginning, destiny holds the power to transform lives. Their love, built through challenges and triumphs, became a beacon for those who walked alongside them. They shared their story with friends, neighbors, and even strangers, offering hope to those who felt lost in their circumstances. As the night deepened, Amina felt the weight of her journey lifted from her shoulders. She'd found a sense of purpose beyond the comforts of wealth, a purpose that transcended material gain and rested in the legacy of love, resilience, and destiny. We are more than what we possess, she whispered, her voice a gentle breeze in the stillness. We are the story we choose to live. Together, Zaid and Amina embraced their future, a future built on the foundation of their unwavering bond, their shared destiny, and the realization that true wealth is found in the strength of the human spirit.